the channel. Now, it is no secret that quite often there is a favorite child in the family, and then there is somebody who just kind of tags along. And today we need to talk about the latter. Moondragon. Obviously, Moondragon is nowhere near garnering the hype that Adam Warlock is, but her deep dive is out, and that by no means imply that she's going to be a bad champion at all. And it's time we take a look, and I'm going to give you guys my opinions. In short, based on what I have seen from Moondragon so far, she kind of seems to be a bit of a mix of Black Widow, Deadly Origins, and kind of like Penny type of champion, where you have your level 1, level 2 rotation. It's kind of Mantis, Black Widow, Deadly Origins-esque type of champion, I would say. But let's get to it. Right, so she will have her basic psychic charges that you will be gaining quite similar to, again, Black Widow, Deadly Origins charges and whatnot, or Mantis charges by intercepting and punishing specials and doing certain actions, which in turn obviously are going to power her abilities. At her peak ramp up, she will be capable of delivering some significant amount of damage on her level 2 that typically, in vast majority of the fights, will require a level 1, then a level 2 in order to ramp up. Additionally, even though she is somehow a telepath and a skill champion, but fair enough, Moondragon's telepathic power grants her immunity to reverse controls. I'm sure that quite a few people will like that. And then we have the reduced potency of incoming bleed, power sting, degeneration, and poison effects from champions or quest buffs. Now, they have chosen this very specific wording in order not to include Liquid Courage Double Edge, which means she will not be recoil mastery friendly. Now, she has the mechanic called Mind Blasts, are triggered when interrupting heavy attacks or hitting the opponent's block with Moondragon's first medium or light attack. Mind Blasts do not trigger on well-timed blocks. Starting a combo by intercepting a dash attack or intercepting a medium and light attack triggers Mind Blast for entire 5-hit combo. So it's kind of like Black Widow Deadly Origins in a sense there. So this ability we kind of discussed. It is kind of interesting that she has kind of a pseudo protection to power things. Also, while she is suffering from any of these debuffs, she will be generating her Mind Blast every X amount of seconds. So that is going to be kind of supercharging her, and it is going to be something that you do not want to, well, use fighting against Moondragon, I suspect. Here we can see that for each of her Mind Blasts, she is going to be inflicting the red numbers whenever she's triggering those hits. Also, her psionic charges is basically when she reaches 20 Mind Blasts, she enter her psionic mode, gain 1 psionic charge when triggering a Mind Blast. During this, so you can get more, while suffering from bleed, power sting, degeneration, or poison effects from champions and quest buffs, gain psionic charge every 0.75 seconds. Psionic charges grant her additional critical rating, and then upon reaching 20, you purify all debuffs and enter Psionic Transcendence for 15 seconds, and then you will be able to pause it, and during Psionic Transcendence you will be able to inflict energy vulnerabilities on opponent, and so on and so forth. So the debuff purification aspect of this, I don't think is going to be potent enough to be used reliably. As in, you need to get 20 charges to purify all debuffs, but you can't rely on it to be able to access it constantly. I'm sure it's going to be useful here and there, but I would definitely not look at her as a reliable debuff purifying champion. Right. Then we covered this bit, and obviously she will be gaining a whole bunch of those extra charges against champions like Null, because she can automatically get up to the 40, which is max, and then she also gets up to 25 energy vulnerabilities, which is the max limit. Obviously, her basic attacks don't seem to be doing energy damage, so it's primarily meant for her bursts of Mind Blast damage and the level 2 damage. Also, whilst in that Psionic Transcendence, inflict energy vulnerability while gaining new psionic charges. That is where you can cap them at 25. And reduce the potency of incoming bleed, power sting, degeneration, and poison effects from champions. Again, this is specifically from champions, so this will not even include nodes, by additional 50%, which will put it to 80% in total, which again, is good, but I don't think it's something that you will be offensively able to rely on. Moondragon's hits cannot be evaded, so she will, again, it's good, but I don't think she will be used as a staple evade counter, because that requires you to ramp up, and if you can't stop evade ramping up, you're probably going to be in trouble as is. And Psionic Transcendence is paused during the opponent's special attacks, and for 2 seconds when Psionic Charge is gained. So if you are gaining more charges, then you can retain your Psionic Transcendence for quite a long time. All stacks of energy, vulnerability, and Psionic Charges are removed when Psionic Transcendence ends, as often is the case. And that is kind of like the main bits and gist of it. Her level 1 effectively just grants her additional charges, helping her ramp up quicker. And the cool thing is that after her level 1, for like 2.5 seconds, she basically is phasing everything that's being thrown at her. So I'm sure that that will have quite a bit of, utility in terms of finding openings and things like that. Total, I think you can gain up to 9 charges from your level 1, and the rotation would be in matchups where you do not get inflicted by debuffs. Typically, that rotation would be level 1 and level 2, and then level 2, once you activate the Psionic Transcendence, should be able to deal quite a bit of damage. Now, the cool thing about her level 3, obviously, is the 3-headed dragon, and I can't deny the fact that she does have one badass looking level 3. Look at that dragon, kind of like in shadows there, and then it just beams out fire and nukes everything. Also, the special 3 actually does incinerate the opponent with the dragon's breath. It is not the most potent incinerate, but Psionic Transcendence is paused whilst Incinerate is active, so it can effectively just work as a very, very long extension of your damage mode. If Psionic Transcendence was active when you activated that Incinerate, then you inflict Incinerate passive instead, which is critical Incinerate. Obviously will do slightly more damage, but honestly, I don't think that is going to be the main source of damage for her. And she does have a cool pre-fight ability here as well, where you can give it to your champion, and they gain immunity to reverse controls 3 times in a fight. So we're gonna discuss that a bit later. And her awakened ability lets her specials be unblockable, which is quite neat. And then I believe it did something else that was alrightish. I don't really recall there, but I do think her awakened ability was relatively solid. And here is the pre-fight one. So Moondragon starts each quest with 1 persistent charge. You can gain 1 more by knocking down the opponent, and if you apply it, you gain 3 passive Dragon of the Moon Knight charges, granting immunity to reverse controls. So that's kind of neat, and you can apply it to everybody. So after the release of Moondragon, you can make everybody immune to reverse controls for up to 3 times in a quest. 3 times in a fight, I mean. Alrighty then. So overall, again, she is capable of delivering some reasonably good damage numbers. I'm not super over the moon. I'm not at all trying to imply that she is going to be a bad champion, but at the same time, I quite fail to see why would I use her over most other skill champions. That makes sense. Aside from the obvious immunity to reverse controls. Because the playstyle is kind of like a mix of things that we have. But again, what do you do with her? Damage purifier? Not really. Evade counter? Not really. Does she have immunities? No. Access to tons of specific damage over time effects? No. So I'm just not clearly seeing what would you want to use her for. Like, for instance, in Battlegrounds, which of the top defenders she would be that amazing against? We'll see, but virtually anything that comes to mind, I think there are better and easier to use options. But again, it is far too early to kind of cast the final judgments. Obviously, we need to see how the champion incorporates itself in the game. We need to see more footage, full list of abilities, try them out for ourselves, so and so far. But comparatively speaking, when future Ant-Man is coming to the game, I was like, okay, this looks good. You would use him for that. When Kate Bishop comes to the game, okay, this looks good. You would use him for these matchups. When Cassie Lang came to the game, okay, cool. Buff immunity, tons of power things. This is what you would use it for. And obviously Adam Warlock, you look at it, okay, obviously all of these abilities, and let's run and use them everywhere. But with Moondragon, I'm much more cautious in the sense like, yeah, but why? I hope that makes sense. So, definitely much less excited about Moondragon. He does have the cooler synergies though, because Adam Warlock synergies were extremely mediocre. So Moondragon, when Psionic Transcendence ends, gain 5 Psionic charges. This is actually really important, so you would be able to quicker re-enter your Psionic Transcendence. And for Moon Knight, while under 2 bars of power, critical hits grant a chunk of power. It's Moon Knight. It's a cool synergy, but Moon Knight is just too bad of a champion for it to mean anything. Now this one, with Mantis, while Psionic Transcendence is not active, gain a 20% energy resistance buff. Again, it's neat. It's nothing crazy though. 20% isn't that massive. And then Mantis, start each fight with a dormant physical resistance charge. When struck, the charge is removed and replaced with a 40% physical resistance buff for 6 seconds. This is kind of nice. It can kind of work like as a little bit of a safety net. It's just not potent enough. If that would be like indestructibility buff for 6 seconds or something, that would be amazing for Mantis. But 40% physical resistance buff, it's just, I don't think it does the job it's designed to do well enough for me to be excited for it. So there we go. And then we have the Bold and the Beautiful. While attacking, gain a 35% energy resistance passive. I think this one's quite neat, and I like the name, so I do think this synergy gets a seal of approval. And yeah, getting 35% energy resistance while striking the opponent. Again, it's nice. I don't think it's anything game-changing. It's funny, though. It is funny. I do think we need more the Bold and the Beautiful synergies in the game. And then we have Open Palm technique. Moondragon, hitting the opponent's block with basic attacks, grants a non-stacking Fury passive, increasing attack rating by 20%. I think this one can be quite nice because you can activate it and then launch an unblockable special attack relatively freely. So I do think it can be quite beneficial. But again, nothing crazy or outlandish. Let's face it, it's 20% Fury. And then Iron Fists. Unfortunately, regardless of what the synergy is, those champions need way more help. Critical hits grant indefinite heavy proficiency passive, increasing attack rating by 20%. Max stacks 3. These passives are removed after landing heavy attack. It's nice, but again, as long as Iron Fists are as crappy of a champions as they are, it's nothing more than a gimmick, really. So overall about Moondragon, I can't say that I'm super hype or excited. I also don't think that she's going to be bad, by no means. I just think that kind of redundant, or at the very least, I can't see clearly what I would do with her. Obviously, all of that could change after, I get my hands on her, test it. Maybe I fall in love with the character. Maybe she has much, more damage than I think she's going to be, or she's much easier to use, or something like that. But in general, right now, it's just I can't see myself needing her. I suppose that's the point. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about